5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Behind the scenes, behind the curtain. These are the stories that'll make you glad you became an accountant. This is Soundwaves TMI.
One of my favorite movie-going experiences, because I'm a big fan of Electric Dreams.
Yes.
The 1984 film with Virginia Madsen. But I got to go to an anniversary screening of that Virginia Madsen was there in the audience, and there was a Q&A and photos afterwards and all that sort of stuff. And Lenny Von Dolen, the late Lenny Von Dolen, was there as well. Rusty Lemerond, who wrote the script, was there. So not only did I get to experience the movie for the first time on the big screen, because the only time I had seen it before was at Video Plus.
Oh, right,
because we had the movie,
sure,
on video. And I don't know if maybe you've got it somewhere in a box in your garage, or I've got it somewhere in a box in my garage. But I'm hoping one of us still has it, because I really would like to get that VHS copy of that.
That oversized.
Oh, yeah, the big clamshell box. Going to a movie like that people want to see and they're invested in, whether they hadn't seen it before or, like me, had only seen it on the small screen, to be able to see a movie like that and experience it with the cast on the big screen, and to be able to have an interaction with them afterwards. That's the love of cinema. That's the whole fucking package right there, all wrapped up. I love being able to do that. And I will tell you, there's one thing, and I was telling you about this last night, and we both are kind of guilty of it. One of my guilty pleasures right now that I've recently come across is there's a bunch of videos on YouTube where people are watching movies for the first time. And so there's two in particular, these two different girls that watched like Star Trek movies for the first time. Star Trek from the motion picture through Voyage Home. And to experience that through somebody else's eyes for the first time, to watch somebody else have that reaction that I had the first time I saw something, actually kind of brings it full circle. It brings it back around. It reignites that, because you sit down with a friend and you go, hey, this is a great movie, check this out, and they sit there and they're looking at their phone or they're eating popcorn or whatever, and they're not paying attention. You go, this is fucking awesome. You're missing out. But to actually watch somebody enjoy a film that you enjoy for the first time, to remind you of what it was like seeing it the first time, it's kind of cool, actually.
That is pretty awesome. The hot chicks who watch the movie have nothing to do with your experience watching this podcast.
Hot chicks is a bit of it might be a bit of a misnomer, I mean, they're, it's not like they're in lingerie or anything like that, but
anyway, that you got to pay extra for that.
That's where the Patreon
Well played. One of my all-time favorite moments of watching any movie anywhere with anybody was when Flick Nation, our movie brand, presented a screening of Sorcerer with William Friedkin in attendance. He was signing books in the lobby, but went out to eat at first and then kind of came into the movie. And if you know the movie Sorcerer, it's a fucking phenomenal movie based on Wages of Fear, and was kind of a flop at the time. Came out the same day Star Wars came out, and guess which one got the air? But over time, its reputation grew, and there's one sequence in the movie where these two trucks with nitroglycerin are going across a bridge in piss-down pouring rain over a river, and the bridge is doing this shit. It's such an iconic image. It's on the poster. And it just puts my stomach in a knot every time I see it, even though I know how it ends. I'm just like, oh my God. And so I'm standing there next to the guy who shot this. We're standing in the back of the theater watching this 35 millimeter print of Sorcerer. And I'm like, I realized, like, what a weird moment this is that I'm standing next to Bill Friedkin, and he liked to be called Billy. And I leaned over and I was like, every time I see this, my stomach's in a knot. And he, without missing a beat, he leans over and he goes, me too.
Well, he knows his shit.
I mean,
And that is one of the things, between the both of us that we've been able to do over the years, as far as doing the junkets and stuff like that, and doing Q&As, because Superman the movie is one of my favorite films. Christopher Reeve's portrayal of Superman has just been a bellwether. This is how you do it. and everything else is measured off of that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I've done a few Q&As over the years where there's been screenings of Superman the movie. And I've done stuff with Jack O'Halloran, who played Non, with Mark McClure, who we had on the Christmas show a handful of years ago. I just got reminded of that on Facebook. Mark McClure, who played Jimmy Olsen in all the Superman films, as well as a Supergirl movie. And we had Mark on the Soundwaves Christmas 15 years ago, where he came out and played music and everything. Mark McClure, also Dave McFly in the Back to the Future films. And being able to, and also with Ilya Salkind, I've done a couple of Q&As with him as well, who is the producer of, him and his father were the producers of the Christopher Reeve Superman films. And us being in a positions where we were to be able to do those interviews with those people, to be able to have those discussions with those people, whether it was a press junket or there was a Q&A with an audience and things like that, that opportunity that we got to be able to do that is something that not a lot of people get a chance to do.
Yeah.
And sure, press junkets are a beast unto themselves, you know, and some people are great at it. Some people suck at it.
I suck at it.
Some people, I wasn't thinking of you. I was thinking of,
but I'll raise my hand first. Those are fucking terrible. I hate those things.
Yeah. I mean, and I got to a point where initially it was kind of cool and fun to be able to sit down with big actors and stuff like that. And all it takes is a couple of people, with shitty attitudes that kind of takes the shine off the apple. Yeah. But still, being able to be a part of that process and to be able to talk to those people, there's something special about that, and that gives you that connection to stuff.
You had a great story. Tell the story about how you dealt with press junkets, because I would come in and ask questions about the movie, and I was the asshole asking that question for the 1,000th time over a weekend. Okay. So, but you had a great way to cut through all that. Well,
and it initially started, I think my first junket, it was a DreamWorks junket. It was, and I got flown to New York and put up in a nice hotel and everything. I said, wow.
Yeah, those days are over.
This is fucking awesome. Look at this. I'm a big shit here. This is great. But it was a junket for DreamWorks, and the two films that we were doing was Amistad and Mouse Hunt. Okay, there's
That's
two
a
sides.
Great double feature.
So, but for Mouse Hunt, it was great because I had Nathan Lane, which was cool. Nathan Lane is awesome. But I also got Christopher Walken. Right. Christopher fucking Walken. Are you kidding me? How cool is this going to be? Here's me on my first press junket, flown to New York on Steven Spielberg's dime to be able to talk to Christopher Walken. Are you kidding me? So, of course, press junkets, as you've seen, they will have a set up with a logo in the background or a poster or something like that. They'll have the actor in this chair. They'll have the interviewer in this chair. And you go in and you sit down and you've got anywhere from literally 2 to 10 minutes. If you're from Film Trip, you get 3 minutes. If you're from Entertainment Tonight, you get 10, So being from Film Trip, I had 3 to 5 minutes, I think. And I sat down with Nathan Lane, and we had a great conversation.
Oh, and by the way, just to set a little context here, you're standing, and they're like, you're up next, and you're past the interviewer, and you sit down, and it's go. Zero rapport.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No chance to
establish they snap the
thing.
Microphone on you and go. Yeah, because they just got to, bang through these things. So I sat down with Nathan Lane, and it was fun, and it was, exciting, and then Christopher Walken. And I sit down, and so I just tried to just get that little moment. Just a little, connection. I go, so Christopher, how's it been going? And he stops and he looks at me and he goes, I've been answering the same fucking questions for the past 3 days. How do you think it's going? I'm like,
I got to find that tape.
Welcome to Film Trip, everybody. We're here with Christopher Walken talking about his,
You know what I found, though, while we were doing that back in the day, it occurred to me, I did the Wild Things junket and got my name on the DVD box and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, so I got, Nev Campbell and Denise Richards. Awesome. And then I was, Matt Dillon and Kevin Bacon. And what's funny is I like Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Kevin Bacon. Yep. He was awesome in Guardians. I mean, all that stuff. I'm a fan. I'm in. Great. But he was a dick to me that day.
Really?
Yeah, he was a prick. And
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
And so the way I dealt with that is when we got back to the set, I was like, yep, we're going to review Wild Things starring Nev Campbell, Denise Richards, and Matt Dillon. I didn't even say his name. I was like, fuck him.
Wow, really?
Because I was like, they need us more, as much as we need them.
absolutely.
And he was a complete cock to me. Again, maybe he was having a bad day. Sorry,
Wow.
Kevin. But I mean, it was just one of those things where everything I said, he's just like, no.
Really?
Did you feel blah, blah, blah? How did you approach this? He goes, I don't know. He was over it. And I was the guy.
Wow.
And for a few years, I'm like, fuck that guy. But, I mean.
Wow, I'm really kind of surprised by that because everything I've seen of him since, like last year was
I dig the guy. He's cool. He probably had a bad day. I mean, he's sitting there answering the same questions.
Or maybe he kind of got over himself or whatever because like last year it was the anniversary for Footloose. Mm-hmm. The one high school where they shot the film.
Oh, yeah.
Where they did a whole big thing about him coming back and all that. And he was just all over it. And he was just all gregarious. And all of his social media stuff is all happy and very cool. So...
I'm not here to knock the guy. Don't get me wrong. It was like one day that he probably...
I'm just surprised by that.
No,
that's all.
But I was just like... Kick a rock.
So you never...
I don't like him anymore.
Yeah. No, it's like, junkets are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
I have not had a whole lot of great experiences with junkets, but my Spice Girls one was actually probably the best one.
No, that was
pretty cool.
I mean, how cool is that?
I mean...
I personally, with all the junkets I did, I never had an experience where I had to start.
I was there for the Chow Yun Fat movie, Replacement Killers with Mira Sorvino. We went to, same deal. They flew us to New York. My wife is a flight attendant and we were not married yet, so she flew out and met me. So that was awesome. It was like a little vacation kind of thing. And New York, as you know, Steve, because you were raised there, New York in January.
Yeah.
And I show up with my San Francisco clothes, so I was not exactly prepared for that. Not prepared for that. And it was so surreal because like you get off the plane, you get into a cab, go into the movie, and I watched The Replacement Killers and Spice World back to back.
That is a double feature for you.
In and of itself is a bit of a... and then across the street for the party with all the critics getting hammered, and then up to the hotel room. And so the next day the junket started. And so like I'm not necessarily nursing a hangover, but they're like, yeah, we're going to do Spice Girls at like 10 o'clock, And I'm like, great. I'll wake up at 9, take a shower. Phone rings in my room, and hotel phones are like, bah! It's like, oh, whoa, Jesus. So like 8:05, the phone rings, and I'm like, hello. And they're like, we need you down here in 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So no shower. I had hair at the time. Comb the crazy hair, throw the thing on. So my wife starts, ironing my rumpled, shirt I was going to wear. She burns it, right? So I have like... So I got this burn mark on the thing, and I rush in and I'm like, go on, get in there. And it was my birthday actually, because that weekend was my birthday weekend. And so I go in there, I sit down and I do the thing, and it's probably a terrible interview. They're just over it. Like one of the girls was just like, like it was all bad. Right. And then I get to the part where I said, okay, well, I thank you very much. It's, you guys are great. There's not a whole lot of things I'd rather do on my birthday than talk to the Spice Girls. And they were like, oh, it's your birthday. And so they sang me happy birthday. And I was like, oh my God, that was the most amazing thing ever. Holy crap. I got hugs all around. It was the fucking best. And the reps are just like, come on, hurry up, get out. I wanted nothing more than to go back and watch those tapes. So I get the tapes and I put them in and I played them, and they stopped recording right before they fucking sang to me. I don't even have that. Like, it happened. Or maybe I dreamt it. I don't know. But damn it, I could just tell that story and you all have to believe me. But yeah, no, it sucked. They're just like, done, next.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just banging it out,
It's crazy. The other weird thing that happened that weekend is two weird things. Mira Sorvino was walking everywhere with a little rat dog and a purse. And so we're dealing with that in the hotel lobby, and Richard Simmons pops out of the elevator, and it's 15 degrees in New York, and he comes out in a tank top and shorts, and then sees the crowd and starts singing to the crowd, and it's like, hey, I'm like, oh wow, like what David Lynch movie did I just step into?
That's
holy crap. And I'm going to be this is an Am I the Asshole kind of thing. I was in New York for the first time for a while, and they're like, yeah, Mira Sorvino's only talking to big press. And I'm like, that's fine. And so I did the Chow Yun Fat and talked to John Woo, and all that stuff was great. And then I was like, well, I haven't been here. Let's do some touristy stuff. And so we were going to go out and, Empire State Building, whatever. And I remember one of the reps was just like, hey, you know what? If you want to talk to Mira Sorvino and get an interview, get 5 minutes with her, if you want to hang out here in the room, it could be like, maybe an hour, but, she'll probably talk to you because she's, doing more interviews. And I was like, no, we're good. So I could have talked to Mira Sorvino, or I could have actually done the touristy thing in New York, and I chose to do that.
That's a choice.
I mean,
and
the rep was just like, really? I mean, this is kind of an opportunity for you to. She's an Oscar winner. I'm like, it's cool. It's fine.
I don't me personally. I would have stuck around.
Would you?
Because New York's not going anywhere.
I mean,
your fiance / wife is a flight attendant, so you'll be able to fly back to New York. Yeah. You can spend a whole weekend there and stuff.
But I'm not going to stand there for 2 hours, and maybe she's going to talk to me, and maybe she's going to talk to her rat dog. I'm just, I was over it at that point.
Yeah, I would have done it different.
Yeah, it's cool.
But the junkets were fun, and it was kind of an era. Too, because we haven't done that shit for a long time,
right?
And it's not like the opportunities weren't there.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you, in particular, you're still a member of these voting bodies and all that sort of stuff. So if it was important to you to be able to go out and do those things, you could.
I could probably. Yeah.
But I was kind of over it.
I am too. I am too. I mean, I see it, and good on you. If that's what you do, that's awesome. I would prefer to stick to what you described at the beginning of the conversation, which is kind of a critical look at movies more than the celebrity part of it. I don't need to hobnob with, pretty people and feel like I'm somebody. I would much rather celebrate and appreciate and elevate the art, and if that's got pretty people in it, score. But it's not where I come from on that whole thing,
Yeah, I mean, it's not as much of a draw as it was back in the day. Because between the two of us, we've spent our share of time with quote unquote celebrities. Whether it's it's because like when we used to go to the Critics' Choice Awards all the time, it was a big thing.
Fun, yeah.
But fun. it was a thing that we did,
right?
Because it was always around our birthday weekend. Because my birthday is the January 18th, and this is the 17th. And we always, we make it a point of doing a birthday thing, and we've done it for 40 years or whatever. And it was always fun because the Critics' Choice Awards was always around our birthday weekend too. So it was kind of like a birthday celebration where we go and get free food and drink, and we go hobnob with the stars. And when you're at an award show like that's on live, what happens is, so here's the award show stuff, and then they go to commercial. And so so it's not like it's all pre-recorded and stuff.
No, right.
No, it's live.
Yeah.
So when they go to commercial, everybody's up out of their fucking seats, and they're making a beeline to get to the celebrities to say hey and get pictures and all that sort of stuff. And we've gotten our share of cool pictures and all that sort of stuff over there because that was a fun thing to do. And we were, we were total assholes about it too, because I remember because you've got the stage. And then you go down a couple of steps, and then there's all the tables and everything where everybody sits. And there was a couple of times, and I don't remember who I was trying to get to, but it was like everything was log jammed up.
Oh, where we climbed up on the stage?
Yeah, so we go up the steps and go on the stage and cut across, and go down the other side because we were trying to get to somebody, And it was cool because we did manage to get our pictures with a handful of really cool people and stuff like that. And you get a little cachet from that, and it's fun. But it got to the point where it was kind of like, it's kind of too much work.
There was that one year we went when The Revenant was nominated.
That was cool.
Okay, so here's what generally happens is like you're a lowly film critic, and don't get me wrong, it's an awesome opportunity to go and hang out. And so, but what happens is you're usually like, here are all the tables with the nominees, and here are all the tables with the critics. And now it's even worse, which is quite frankly why I haven't gone in the last 5 or 6 years, is because now they're nominating TV and they've squeezed all this TV in. So the whole room, there's no room for critics. They're like,
the critics are actually in a different
we could put you in a different room with a big monitor. And I'm like, I got a big monitor at my house. I don't need to, no, that's taking all the fun out of it. And so, But we generally, we got used to sitting in the back of the room for 4 or 5 years. And we went to this one and they're like, yeah, you're at like table 13. And we're like, 13? That's like right there at the foot of the stage. We're like, where the hell are we? And we're sitting there and that dude looks familiar. And people are looking at us like, who the hell are you? It was for The Revenant, which was Leonardo DiCaprio's movie where he won. But he was in like England or something. So he wasn't there. The director wasn't there. But we were there. And like right front and center.
So we got to be seat fillers, basically.
Yeah, every time they took a shot of like the front row, like we're right there, and we were right next to the table with, I don't remember their movie, but Melissa McCarthy was over here and Meryl Streep's over there.
Yeah,
and
Jason Statham was right there.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was, I had friends, on Facebook, taking pictures of their TV going, hey, there you are in the front row at the Critics' Choice Awards.
Yep.
Yeah, that was.
And getting hammered with Will Forte.
Oh, that was fucking awesome.
I mean, because he was there for Nebraska, so Bruce Dern was there.
Yep.
And we had just become pals with Will, and we hung out with him in the lobby, and there was a lot of drinking involved.
So we're pals with Will Forte. So we want to get pictures with Will Forte, So Bruce Dern is the star of Nebraska. He is the guy that's getting all the awards and attention and all that sort of stuff. So I walk up to Bruce fucking Dern and go, Bruce, can we get a picture? Sure. Okay, so I hand him my phone, and then we go over by Will Forte. So I've got this janky, blurry picture of Dennis and me and Will Forte, that was taken by Bruce Dern, and Bruce Dern's like, yeah, okay, sure, click.
It's a Bruce Dern original.
It's a Bruce Dern original. Yeah.
This portion of Soundwaves TV is sponsored by Breakers, voted Pacifica's best daytime restaurant serving classic American breakfast, brunch, and lunch specialties. Great food, friendly staff, and amazing views with outdoor dog-friendly seating. Life is better at Breakers. Open daily from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Rockaway Beach. Check out the menu and plan your next visit at ilovebreakers.com.
So back to Junkets, though. You tell me your Odd Couple story, because that was
well, it wasn't the Odd Couple,
right?
It was the Odd Couple 2. Right? Does anybody remember Odd Couple?
In and of itself was kind of a weird movie. You're just like, wait a minute, that's
and I'll tell you, the movie version of the Odd Couple is one of my favorite movies.
Okay,
I'm a big fan of Neil Simon. I love the Odd Couple movie. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, genius. Genius. I just got done directing a Neil Simon play, Rumors.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I'm a huge fan of Neil Simon stuff. So the opportunity came up to do the junket for Odd Couple 2. Now, of course, when you do a junket, you get to see the movie before you do the junket, but it's not like you get to see it like a week in advance or anything like that. You fly into town, or you're already in town, but you go to a screening the night before or that day, and then you go to the hotel next door where they do the junkets. And I was looking forward to, because as much of a fan as I was of The Odd Couple, to be able to sit down with Jack Lemmon, who's one of my acting prototypes, and Walter Matthau. How awesome is that? So I saw the movie, and it wasn't great. As much as I loved the original Odd Couple, and you give projects a certain amount of grace when you're thinking about an original that you really love, and if there's the actors and the concept and all that sort of stuff, you give it a little bit of breathing room. You give it a little. It just wasn't great, And so the next day was the junket, and unfortunately, Jack Lemmon, he wasn't feeling well, so he wasn't doing all the junkets. He was just, doing like Entertainment Tonight or somebody big like that. But, we were an ABC affiliate, so we weren't, we didn't, we weren't quite there.
Sure.
But I got to sit down with Walter Matthau, and I love him, but sitting down with Walter Matthau, who knew that the movie wasn't great, and that's part of the fun, because when they know that the stuff they're doing isn't awesome, they want to talk about anything but. They want to just move on. And I'll say, Walter Matthau was one of those guys where he was just this larger than life guy. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to work the room. He knew he didn't have to try that hard, and he knew he didn't want to talk about the movie. So here he is, and usually when you go into press junkets, you'll have like director's chairs. And people sit in director's chair. Well, he was in this big Archie Bunker chair, this big leather, and he's just kind of like slumped in this chair. And one of the first things that I noticed, and this is not a slight, it's just an observation, was that he hadn't trimmed his ear hair in like about a decade. So he had this big shit. He looked like Princess Leia. He had this big... And I was trying not to look at that while I was interviewing him. Wow. As I recall, we had it was a decent back and forth and everything, but it was like Quentin Tarantino was kind of the same way. I did the junket.
I was so jealous when you did that. Yeah. God, I couldn't go.
And I get to sit down for Jackie Brown. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was very, very animated, but he was on his own plane, kind of thing. I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of wind him up and you just let him go, and you just sit there and you nod and you go, yeah, it's cool. Right. Okay, sure, yeah. And he's just boom, 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 boom. He's just all over the place. So you let him do what he's going to do. Yeah. Pam Grier, talking to her though. I mean, that was cool because, and it's one of those things you don't normally say stuff like this, but I was really kind of captivated with her, because you walk in and she's just such a presence. Especially back in the Jackie Brown days, and she had all that history from the 70s blaxploitation stuff. But she was electric.
I mean, stunningly beautiful. Yeah, a star. Yeah, exactly.
And so I started the interview with her, and I stopped, and I go, look, I'm sorry, but I am just captivated. You are just amazing. And she just lit up, and she was just, there was a real back and forth there. Nice. But it was one of those things where it was totally unprofessional, but it was something that needed to be said.
I mean, that kind of defines your whole career, though. I mean, actually, you just reminded me. Tell the Sam Jackson story about.
Oh yeah, this is another one too, because I actually talked to Sam Jackson twice, because I talked to him for Jackie Brown,
right?
And my interaction with him was great, because he was kind of like teed up for everybody just asking the same basic pedestrian stuff, and I sat down, and the first thing I started with Sam Jackson was, I said, I think I said, of all the people that I have known over, my lifetime in the past 50 years, there is nobody, and I mean nobody, that can kick the phrase motherfucker like Samuel L. Jackson. And he just lit up, and he goes, yeah, my mother taught me that. And that was great. And then when we sat down later, and we got together for the movie Sphere, which was crap. Yeah. And he knew it. He remembered me when I came in. He shook my hand. He goes, gave me that look. And we spent the whole time talking about golf, because he didn't want to talk about Sphere because he knew it was a crap movie. And the same thing with Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman is another one of my prototypes as far as actors is concerned, that I would like to think that I could be like, it could have been like back in the day. And all he wanted to do was tell dirty jokes. He didn't want to talk about the movie at all.
That's awesome.
But it was great.
Oh, it's got to drive the publicist. Just
because nuts. All they want, all the publicists want to get that quote that's going to go out on, and he just refused. He just wanted to talk about anything else, and he was just telling dirty jokes and stuff, and it was great. Nice. It was good because we had a great time. The publicists, not so much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I'm not in a hurry. These are great stories. I'm not in a hurry to do a junket ever again. But I mean,
how long has it been since we've done a junket?
Oh God, I haven't done one since the late 90s.
Yeah.
If I can spend like the better part of a night picking their brain, I will. I got nothing to do with 5 minutes. Yeah. Like 5 minutes is just like, I can't. I'm out.
That's a jerk off session.
What are you going to do?
Point, what are you going to do? I sat down with Steven Spielberg for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, there's just some people, they're just not worth talking to unless you're going to stretch your legs. You're going to get into the process. You're going to find out what makes them tick. Yeah. Or there's going to be a certain authenticity. Otherwise, I'm just like, thanks. It was very nice meeting you. Shake the hand, take the picture, walk on.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? It's good for your TV show, for the press to be able to put that name on the list of people you've talked to, but where's the substance? Where's the cachet from really talking to somebody to be able to have that conversation? Because it's not a conversation, it's a bit. it's a couple of sentences. It's maybe you'll get some. It's like you had your Wild Things quote that was on the video box. Yeah. I did the Mr. Bean movie.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
And I was in all the ads that went across, in the papers and all that sort of stuff. Best time I had at the movies all year, and it was. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. But I had that quote in the newspapers. Yeah, so.
I just read a thing online and it was hilarious. It kind of reshaped the way I looked at the Mr. Bean character. And they said, Mr. Bean is an alien and he's wearing a human suit. And that explains all of the way he interacts with other humans. And I'm like, that's brilliant. I mean, that's like, I want to ask Rowan Atkinson that question now,
So junkets are fun if it's important to you to be able to sit down and say, hey, look at me, I'm with X. Yeah,
and I mean, at some point you get in your career and you just go, I'm good. I'm good. You want to go have a beer where the cameras aren't? I'll pick your brain for hours. What I mean?
No, and that's the thing. That is where the access would be fun. So if you could use that access to be able to sit down and talk to somebody one-on-one, to be able to have that conversation. Yeah. That would be worth it. We're still movie nerds.
Yeah, totally. Nice.
All right, well, let's wrap this one up.
I think that about does it. My beer's almost done, but good chat as always, sir.
We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.